couple of older prospects looking to save their respective spots on the UFC roster. We have coming up this weekend Tafon Nchukwi, and he's going to be taking on AJ Dobson, a guy who's represented strong style as well as immortal martial arts. We've seen Mark Coleman in his corner multiple times, and if you watched AJ Dobson on Dana White's Contender Series, you heard Mark Coleman say, "Finish him, AJ!" about 50 damn times, and finish him AJ he did. But AJ Dobson, a guy that will come at you with a lot of boxing, and that really is the specialty. He'll box to clinch, and then maybe he'll get the takedown, and you saw it on Dana White's Contender Series when he was taking on Arkagan, struggle with it. He was able to go out there, get that no hook, rear naked choke. The geese love it over there on my side. But when you look at it for Dobson, no hook, rear naked choke, he's been able to get a few of those in his career. We've also seen the knockout over Kalen Hill. First shot that lands for Dobson, a right hand. 2 seconds in, Hill's down on the mat, and then he pops back up. Dobson just goes out there and finishes him. So what we've seen from Dobson in the UFC has been a little bit more of a reserved approach. And when he took on Jacob Malkoun, where is he? I haven't seen it, Jacob Malkoun. I don't know where he's been. He hasn't fought in a very long time. Off of his last win, and yeah, he had that loss to Brendan Allen, but so be it. So if you look at it for Dobson, he was able to defend takedowns in the first round, win the first round against Malkoun with his boxing, but then he couldn't defend the takedowns round 2, round 3. His last time out, he takes on Armen Petrosyan, the striker. What are you going to want to do? Take him down. What does he try and do? Take him down. And he gets 3, but Petrosyan popped right back up, and he was able to strike on the outside, and Dobson couldn't figure out his boxing to make it competitive on the inside. So it'll be interesting to see how Dobson makes out in this one, because I could see him having a little bit of a wrestling advantage against Nchukwi. But Nchukwi's a really interesting guy, because you got to consider it. You can't forget it. Nchukwi was 3-0 as an amateur. He had a great Muay Thai career as well. But if you consider it, like, he was 3-0 as a pro. He beats William Knight, who's on a UFC developmental deal off of Contender Series. They didn't give him the real McCoy, but you had Nchukwi knocking out Knight. Then Nchukwi ends up on Contender Series, knocks out Almatavao. Then he comes into the UFC and he gets a big time win. He drops a fight against Jun Young Park, the Iron Turtle, who's on the cusp of the rankings. And we just really haven't seen the greatest out of Nchukwi. His last 2 fights, he's soundly beating Azamat Murzakanov, who's now ranked at 205. And then his last time out, well, what happens, Craig? I mean, why is he beating him, but it's a loss on his record? Well, in the 3rd round, Murzakanov rushes across, lands a flying knee, and I mean, that was pretty much all she wrote. But the last time out for Nchukwi, he's favored at about a -140 clip against Carlos Alberg at a City Kickboxing, and there was a strong, almost like a pawing left hand from Alberg that hits Mr. Nchukwi, and that's pretty much the end of the fight. So what do we know out of him? Well, he's an interesting case because his build is Nchukwi as an orthodox fighter, but he'll switch it up quite a bit. And this is first action since June of last year, so a really lengthy layoff for Nchukwi. He trains at a Team Lloyd Irvin, but you've seen a lot of cross-training for him and his striking team out of Crazy 88 MMA. And you might go, why do I know Crazy 88 MMA? Well, it's because of Matthew Semmelsberger. And how was his last fight? It was what it was. But Crazy 88, kind of an up-and-coming gym. Coach John Del Bruge getting it done over there. So if you look at it for Nchukwi, again, the road, it is what it is. He beats Mike Rodriguez. And yeah, that was definitely a good one. And Nchukwi looked like the version that we saw against Jamie Pickett when he made his UFC debut, when you had Nchukwi taking on Rodriguez. A lot of volume, mixing everything in, backing up his opponent. And don't forget, Dana White was comparing Nchukwi to Mike friggin' Tyson after Nchukwi beat Almatavao. So I'd really like to know who you have in this matchup, because I don't think we've seen the best of AJ Dobson in the UFC, but I think he's just a little bit unrefined compared to a guy like Tafon Nchukwi. I know Matt's in agreement on this pick. Both of us going with Tafon Nchukwi to get the win. We got some big time fights on this card. Next one, Polyana Viana taking on Yasmin Lucindo. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say. Let's get into it.